Hey everybody, we are about to make some raspberry jam. You know, it's actually my favorite. It's nostalgic for me. Growing up, we always collected and made raspberry jam. My grandmother made raspberry jam and did all sorts of stuff with it. And then my mom, and now myself. So it's a multi-generational thing. So I like to make jam. It's one of my favorite things to make. I make strawberry and peach and raspberry, but raspberry is my favorite. It's a little cold outside, but I had these raspberries, so I thought it'd be a great time to go ahead and put them together as jam and bring you along with me. Get yourself a cup of tea like I have. Are you ready? I can't wait. Let's go. Time to mash the berries. The jars are sitting in the hot water, staying warm. This is how my grandmother and my mother did it. Time to cook the berries. Add the pectin in. And stir it in till it dissolves. And then you need to bring it to a boil that you can't stir down. Okay, we have a boil that's still boiling while I'm stirring it. That's a boil you can't stir down. That's when we add the sugar. This is an old-fashioned recipe, so there is sugar. Of course, you can make it without sugar if you like, or low sugar or other sweeteners to replace the sugar, but this is the way my grandmother made it, my mother, and the way I make it. So now we get back to a boil that we can't stir down. So we're going to keep going, but look how beautiful that gets. Isn't that gorgeous? Just such pretty color. So I'm keeping it at pretty high heat and letting it get to that boil point. This is the part that gets a little bit tricky. Just needs your constant attention here. You don't want it to burn or stick on the bottom, so you've got to keep stirring. But you want it to get to that heat level to get to that boil. And then once you get to the boil that you can't stir down, you need to set the timer for 1 minute. And that 1 minute you have to just keep stirring. That 1 minute is the tricky one. Okay, we have a boil, but I'm able to stir it down still, so just a few more seconds. Okay, so now while I'm stirring, it's still got a boil. So now I set my timer. 1 minute. 1 minute. This is the stressful part. Just gonna keep stirring. "30 more seconds." It's the last 30 seconds that always gets me. seconds and take it off the heat. And now it's time to put the jam in the jars. To tell you, it tastes really good. I got some on my thumb. All right, the next step is have a rag that's damp and has some vinegar on it, and remember that your jars are hot, so be careful, but wipe down the tops of your jars. Okay, now it's time to put the jars and the lids on. When you put the lid on the jar, the tops and lids, you don't want to tighten it all the way down. It should just be snug, not tight. Remembering that the jars are hot. Okay, so now we get to put our lovely jars into the water bath canner. That's what this is called. There we go. Okay, now we drop it in. Just snug as a bug. In they go. Do you see the air bubbles coming up? That's what's coming out of the jars, and that's why you don't seal the lid super tight, because that's what causes it to seal in the boiling water. So now we're going to cover it. We're going to wait for it to come to a boil, and then we set the timer for the amount of time that's appropriate for your elevation. So now the water's been boiling for long enough for my elevation. I live above 6,000 feet, just so you know, or close to it. So I just always go by 6,000 feet. And what we're going to do is lift this out like this. When you put them in the water, you want to make sure that they are covered by a couple inches of water. And this did a funny thing. One of them slipped out and sat on top of one of the smaller jars, but that's fine because there was plenty of water covering it. And you might be able to hear little popping. I'm not sure if you'll hear it, but that's the top sealing in, and it makes a popping noise, which they start to do as you take them out, but they don't always seal immediately. You can let them sit for 24 hours, but I can hear them popping in. There went one. One of the things I was talking about is the not wanting to put hot jars on cold surfaces, so I'm putting them back onto the towel, and when I put them in, the water was hot, the liquid that went, the jam that went into the jar was hot, so that's called hot packing. So these are hot packed jam. And remember, these are very hot, so don't burn yourself. We have some that are still domed. You can see where they're domed, so they haven't sealed yet. And then we have some that are caved in and they have sealed. But you want to just leave these sit still for about 24 hours. You don't want to mess with them. And then once that 24 hours is up, or they've cooled down enough, you want to check and make sure the tops have sealed in. And you can tell by just touching it. It'll pop up and down. If it pops up and down, it did not seal. But don't panic. You can stick that in your fridge and use it within a few weeks. Whatever does seal, that is shelf stable for about a year. So, and I end up giving away a lot of the jam, so this wouldn't last us a year because I'd give it away. But I hope you enjoyed watching me make jam the way my mom and my grandma made. And we'll be back making more jam another day. So I'm going to go have another cup of tea. Bye.